I've been keeping bees since the early 70s, working for a beekeeper when I was in college. Never really dreaming I'd do this myself for a living, but I did fall in love with the bees. I still love the bees today. Honeybees and flowers, of course, have evolved together, and they do have a very nice symbiotic relationship. Honeybees collect nectar, which is the sugar-water solution at the base of a flower, separate and distinct from pollen. They collect that with their tongue, but the pollen is the protein source for the bees. It has nothing to do with making honey. We've got over 300 different types of honey produced in this country, and each different type of flower produces a different type of nectar that would result in a different type of honey. And you can't get a dark honey from an orange blossom. That's going to be a light, flowery honey. And a buckwheat plant is not going to produce light honey. It'll produce a very dark honey. And certainly bees are important to the production of many, many foods in our country. About 1/3 of our diet would not be here were it not for the pollinating activities of bees. Almonds in California, for example, require about 1.6 million colonies of honeybees to pollinate the 800,000 acres of almonds in California. We also have a great deal of apples and cherries and plums, blueberries, cranberries, melons of all types, and avocados. There's almost 100 different crops in the USA that could not be commercially produced without the pollinating activities of honeybees.
Third-generation beekeeper. My father and my granddad started the beekeeping operation. The United States producers raise approximately 140 to 150 million pounds of honey a year. When that honey comes in a crystallized form in the barrel, in the honey drums, one of the first things we do is we warm that honey. And we have to warm it up so that it goes back to liquid. As you know, honey is very viscous. It flows very slow when it's cool or so forth. And we send it through a paper filter. And that paper filter is a series of papers that are set in a contraption that looks like an accordion, kind of. And that honey flows through those papers and it takes out the particles that we don't want to have in honey. There's always things that come from producers that are undesirable in the honey. The pollen particles are not necessary in honey. The reason that we filter honey is because in a study that the National Honey Board did in the last couple of years, one thing that consumers really want is they want a clear and golden product. They want it to be shelf stable, and they don't want it to crystallize. And those are all reasons that you have to filter honey. Our goal is to make consumers like the product that we're so passionate about. We have passion about the bees and the product that we're packaging and the quality of the product that we're providing for the consumer. My biggest thing is read the label, know what you're buying.
I've written many cookbooks, and my latest one, the one that reunited me with the National Honey Board, is Taste of Honey. Honey comes in such a range of colors, from almost white to dark brown, almost black. And in between that spectrum of color is all these different flavors and all these different nectar sources. And they go from soft floral to really big and bold. And you use them differently in recipes. In terms of functionality and how to use honey in recipes, the list is very long. Yeah. For baking, I usually use either clover or alfalfa, a honey that is maybe an orange blossom, honeys that are more reasonably priced that I will buy in large jars and use for quick breads or cookies or puddings. When it comes to savory food, therein lies a really interesting challenge and some, epiphany moments, because there's much more to honey than its sweetness. You need a little acid, you need heat, you need salt, and they can be in the form of, vinegar or lemon juice or hot pepper or ginger or soy sauce or just salt. Even tomato paste adds a little salty edge. So all of those things need to be balanced in a recipe. And honey is the sweetness component, and it works very well. Of course, I will use it as a glaze and in barbecue sauce. If you wanted to substitute honey in a recipe, the rule of thumb is if you look at the liquid ingredients, you use 1/4 cup less. If it's 1/2 cup, I'll reduce it to 1/3, maybe by a couple of tablespoons. A 1/4 teaspoon or 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda will help with the crumbs, so you'll have a more balanced acid and alkaline mixture batter, which will give you a more successful final product in baking.
The most important thing to look for when you're shopping for honey is to look at the label and to read the ingredients. There should be only one ingredient, and that is honey. And if it says honey, then you've got the right thing.